There we go.
Got it.
Here we go. Hello, everyone.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
What were you going to ask, Terry?
Oh, I couldn't hear you, and I was just seeing if you're, but I can hear you now. It's all
Oh,
good.
okay. Okie dokie.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do it. Okay. Sorry, I was just thumbs upping to Cynthia. She put something in the chat. Well, welcome everybody. We're super excited because this has been a topic that we've been thinking about for a while. All of us are ambassadors for HIPPY and stakeholders in this wonderful project. So today we're going to talk about how we can turn that into a strategy for growing HIPPY in our communities and even bigger in your region and your state. Terry, do you want to add anything else? Check in by the chat. So I know Cynthia said she had to multitask, but if you're here, just kind of check in, tell us where you're coming in from today so Benny can see what programs are represented.
And if you haven't met Benny, he's our CEO for HIPPY International.
Yes, I'm going to give a little more bio and background when I have pose some questions to him. But if you went to Mobile to the conference, you'll remember Benny. I think Benny was kind of surprised when people wanted to take selfies with him and stuff. But you're a star in our world, Benny, so get used to it.
So today we'll have an overview of why grow HIPPY in your state, community, state, and region. And then we'll have some time to discuss the topic with Benny. And there will be time afterwards for a Q&A. So if you have questions for Benny, please start to put those together in your mind. You'll be able to share those. And then after that, we have a breakout group activity. We're going to ask you to create an action plan for growing HIPPY in your community, state, and region. That'll take about 30 minutes. And after that, we'll return to the larger group to discuss your action plans. And we also have some resources for you today.
Yes, and a call to action at the end. Well, on this slide, if you've been to pre-service recently, you might recognize this graphic. It's when we talk about the HIPPY model and how HIPPY works. We all know that. We see that every day in our work. And not only does it work, but it works in multiple settings. And that's what this graphic on the left kind of represents. So it mentions family literacy and family support. So it's in the family outreach setting, but also in the school setting. So parent engagement or preschool readiness. And then in the community setting, in terms of prevention efforts such as workforce development and TANF, but there's other things like child abuse prevention, or even within a larger kind of like community education, community leadership development. So taking a look at this graphic, if you would also put in the chat, where does your own program and your agency, how does your agency see you? Does it see you as a family literacy program, a prevention program, just so that we can get a sense of kind of what you're plugged into in terms of what setting you work in. So, okay, so Maria is saying a school readiness program. And your agency, Maria, just because I know it off the top of my head, does education really big spread all the way from preschool to adults. So you're the school readiness piece. So who else? Where do you fit into this graphic? Because we need similar strategies to grow HIPPY, no matter, how we do it. But it also is important to remember that sometimes we come at it from one angle, but there's other agencies in our communities and funders who may see HIPPY in another way. So Lisa is saying we're all of them except for TANF, school readiness, prevention program, parent engagement. And Rochelle, I know you're it's like a family support center. Tell us again what your agency is. Jessica's saying parent engagement, prevention, and school readiness.
We are, I mean, I would consider us, we serve like the from infancy all the way to older adults. So we have early childhood daycare. We have a pre-K program that's in collaboration with the district. We have a adult day program for seniors, and HIPPY's kind of in there as one of their programs.
Okay, so it's like a
community engagement program, I guess.
cool. And Jessica used the community engagement, parent engagement, family literacy. Okay, so this gives us a lot to work with because you might have questions you can pose to each other, and we're hoping that in the group setting, you're going to be able to add some insight based on how your own program is classified within your community. So thank you. And if you have more to say, you can always add it to the chat. So Terry, do you want to continue with the next slide about early education and parent involvement?
Thank you, Carla. So let's take a moment to reflect on, the impact that your HIPPY program has on early childhood education and parental involvement. HIPPY serves as a foundation for lifelong learning. We empower parents to become their child's first and most important teacher. And we do this through engaging activities. We foster essential cognitive and social skills in children and enhance school readiness for children in further academic success. These are all things that you are all well aware of, but it's important to know why we want to grow HIPPY. And by promoting active parental involvement and providing valuable educational resources, HIPPY plays a crucial role in shaping the trajectory of children's lives. It helps them to foster a love for learning that lasts a whole lifetime. And if you'd like to learn more about HIPPY's impact in communities, regions, and states, you can find information on that on our website. So HIPPY has proven success. We know that we empower parents and foster parent-child bonds. And it's a multifaceted success. We don't just increase success for families in one area. This eventually leads to improved academic performance and increased parental involvement, which is great for schools. They love this. And also has long-term benefits for communities. And through HIPPY, parents can become advocates for their child's education, and this creates a positive ripple effect that extends beyond even the community that you're in. So as you read through this list of successes, I encourage you to think about a success story that reflects one of these bullet points. And in a moment, I'd like for you to share your stories in the chat, just anything that popped into your head. And we'll hear from some of you about the impact that HIPPY has had in your community. So if anyone would like to share.
And we got a question in the chat whether the slide deck will be available. And yes, we always post the slide deck along with the recording, and it's always from now on it goes into the library. So good question.
And if anyone wants to take themselves off mute and share, that's okay too.
Hi,
Um,
this is Diana Adams from HIPPY in Coward County Public Schools in Maryland. And I came to HIPPY as a parent first many years ago. And um, I wanted to tie my success story to the increased parental involvement. I had one child who was in the elementary school system, and he had the benefit of Head Start. However, our family dynamics changed, and by the time my two youngest children got ready to go to school, we didn't qualify for Head Start anymore. Um, so I know I needed something to get my children ready for school, and went to they had a hippie was at a table at like the open house night, and wasn't quite sure what it was all about, but it sounded really good, and they showed me the curriculum. And for a parent who didn't have any background in early childhood education, having HIPPY helped me to become that parent that was involved not only with my children's early education, but throughout their educational careers. And I was involved. I got involved with the PTA. I volunteered for some things. I don't think I would have necessarily done all of those things had I not had that interaction with HIPPY. Um, and and I don't know if anybody's heard me share, but I think that HIPPY fostered a love of books in my two youngest children's reading in their lives, because when I go visit them, they still like to read books, and they have all the new fangled things where you can read them on your iPads and stuff. But one of my daughters, she's reading a series right now, and I'm like, you're in the middle of setting for your boards for your nursing, and she's just like, it helps me to relax. So I always credit HIPPY for, making my kids just love going to the bookstore and having books, because they were so used to us receiving books as part of, being a HIPPY parent. So thank you, HIPPY.
Thank you, Diana, for sharing. We have time for one more. I think, was it Lisa that was going to share next?
Yeah. So we've had several success stories with parents throughout the years of HIPPY, and the biggest ones that I can remember that really just fill my heart is we had a parent that had a learning disability, and her child had a learning disability. And with the two of them working together, and for her to be able to start being able to read the books and understanding that terminology that was in there. And then we would ask her, is there anything that, any words in here that you might think that your child might not know, and then giving her those prompts so that she could actually repeat that to her child, and let her child know what those definitions are and understand them too. And then moving forward, when that child graduated, we were able to go with them to the IEP meeting, keep her, well informed of what was happening. And we were that support system for her. But it turned out she really didn't need the support from us, because she was able to do it all on her own. She was able to understand the terminology that they were talking about, understand what was expected of her and her child. And that to me was just beautiful. And I put my two granddaughters through HIPPY as well. I have one granddaughter that has a speech delay, and her speech is coming along great. She's in year 2 now. She's able to spell her name and write her name. So it's a wonderful thing. I don't know what we would do without HIPPY.
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing, and thank you, everyone, for sharing in chat. We want to remember when we're looking to expand our program and looking for partnership and funding in the community, it's success stories like these that will help us to achieve that. That's great to hear.
We're going to be taking notes on some of these quotes.
So when thinking to expand HIPPY in your community or grow HIPPY in your community, it's important to understand the needs of your community. Are there in nearby communities, do you have parents or partners that have expressed an interest in HIPPY? Are there funders? Are there funding resources that fit HIPPY well that maybe you haven't utilized or considered? Is there a nearby population where you are unable to serve, but you could partner with another agency to serve? Are there local organizations such as, or conferences or meetings in your state that you could present at? And would it be beneficial to conduct a community needs assessment in your community, and who could help you in that endeavor? These are just some questions to consider when trying to understand the needs of your community. Building upon the proven success of HIPPY, let's discuss strategies for further growth. And we're going to get more into that a little later. But we want to leverage the impact that we've already achieved through our success stories, and explore new avenues for enhancing and reaching effectiveness to support our families and communities. So to grow HIPPY programs effectively, we want to explore funding opportunities, collaborate with local organizations, and empower past and present families as advocates. And that's my favorite one, personally.
Yeah, because all these stories, like what we heard, they have stories to share too, and they can be mobilized to speak to funders and decision makers, legislators. So I think that's my favorite one too.
They really are the best voice for that.
Right.
You can explore funding opportunities by tapping into various avenues such as government grants, private foundations, and corporate sponsorships. And in this way, you can secure financial support not only for growth, but for future sustainability of your program. I encourage you to set a goal to establish sustainable funding streams that ensure the long-term success of your program. Again, you want to collaborate with local organizations. Maybe there are organizations that you haven't thought of yet. And hopefully today in the brainstorming and breakout group sessions, you can gather some insight from each other on that topic. And again, as we stated before, empower past and present families as advocates for the HIPPY program, and that's a very important strategy for growth. By providing platforms for families to share their success stories and advocate for the program, you really can demonstrate your impact within your community. And it's tailored for your community when you do that. You can do this by establishing a parent-led advisory council, and also strengthen your advocacy efforts. So when you have an advisory council, training them on how to advocate for HIPPY and giving them tools to do that, that is how you would achieve this outcome. Your past and present HIPPY parents are really your largest asset. And Carla, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add to that.
No, I've literally seen programs survive funding cuts because parents were mobilized to go and talk to boards. And one thing that I'll never forget was one of our coordinators taught a small group of children to sing a song based on the song "You Are My Sunshine." And you know how it says, "Please don't take my sunshine away." Imagine a bunch of 4- and 5-year-olds singing, "Please don't take my hippie away." And that's all they needed to hear. They just, wrote up whatever budget that was needed. So, that may seem cheesy, but people like hearing from the people who are being served. So I think it's great advice to have parents involved to that level and kids.
So now we're going to move into our discussion with Benny. And I'm actually going to stop sharing. But Benny, oh, sorry. Benny is our
fearless leader.
Thank you. I'm sorry, am I still here? Did I cut out?
No, I heard
pass
you.
the keyboard to you, Carla.
Oh, okay. Do I need to share my screen? Can you continue to share the screen?
I can continue to share if you like. I thought maybe
Okay. Yeah, if you could continue sharing the screen and then I'll add any links as we move forward. So
Okay.
I I don't want to assume everyone knows Benny, but I assume kind of everyone's at least heard of Benny. So Benny Feifel is the CEO of HIPPY International. And as the CEO, he brings a lot of experience in both nonprofit and for-profit sectors to his role. So I think that gives us some perspectives that for a long time we haven't had. He has been a fundraising campaign director, and he has great knowledge in marketing and sales and negotiations and management. And the reason we felt it was really important and are very grateful for him joining us today is because as the CEO, he is really dedicated to expanding HIPPY's reach and ensuring that we're having an impactful collaboration of programs across the globe. So welcome, Benny. I don't know if you want to say a few words, but I have some questions for you.
Thank you, Carla, and thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for joining. It's great. I know it's a spring break at some places. It's great to be here, and thank you. And I hope we spent an interesting time together.
And you shaved the beard off that's on this picture, I just noticed.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. A lot of change in the past 5 years.
right. So our goal, not just today with this webinar, but our goal in general is to grow HIPPY, of course, so that more families can benefit, from our program model. But what is, your role and HIPPY International's role in supporting that goal?
So I think in general, HIPPY International's goal is to enable the field to reach their goals. So whatever is needed by the field, and whenever needs come up, we find a way to answer these needs. And if we focus on growth, that means that first we discuss and talk and communicate the importance of it, and second, any resources that are needed by the field in order to accomplish the growth and reaching more families. This is something that we are very much vested into, and would supply any needed resources for that.
And we do have some resources. I think that's on a slide further on, but just some of the ones that come to mind are, the startup guide, which we're reworking. So it's not on the back office, on the library right now, but it is being updated. And I think that's a really great resource for folks to use to share with people who are interested in starting a HIPPY program. Maybe not like a parent, but not that it's a secret from our parents, but it's more like another agency or a funder who would be interested. And then the other one I thought of, because I was just reviewing the Spanish subtitles for some of the new videos that are coming out to promote HIPPY. Are there any others that come to mind?
Yeah, many. I mean, we've been participating in conferences in the past year and a half, in the past 18 months, trying to distribute the message of HIPPY and trying to talk to decision makers, and making sure that the awareness of this program grows. That is one. The second is we are trying to get some media coverage for different sites, and in general for the program. We are very much vested in the research and studies that are happening. And in the past 2 years, various studies came out that support HIPPY and strengthen our case that this is a very, very successful and good program. Webinars like we are conducting now, all of these together are aimed in elevating the awareness of HIPPY, both inside the programs and with the people that already know about it, but then understand the importance of reaching more families, but also with the people outside of the program, outside of the, I would say, even outside of the home visiting ecosystem, to understand A, more about home visiting in general, and B, about HIPPY and the differences between HIPPY and the other models.
Well, of course, you know that today our audience, here is pretty much coordinators. I know there's at least one home visitor on their coordinators, assistant coordinators. So what would you say to us that are in the field actually working a program? Why is it important at the program level that HIPPY grows in the US?
So at the program level, it will affect all of the stakeholders of the program, and that's linked and very strong connected with a very basic human behavior, right? We are designed in a way in which we trust, and it seems a lot of times that it's not the case, but many studies have shown that we trust what other people are deciding and making decisions, and we tend to follow them. We tend to take always the familiar choice if we can, and by growing HIPPY and making sure that or putting an effort into having more sites in the community or in the state or in the country, and growing the awareness to this program, we make sure in one particular site that all the stakeholders, they work with the stakeholders, which will be much easier. I'm not saying that it will be without any challenges, but for example, imagine going to a funder and not needing to explain what is HIPPY, because HIPPY is already known by this funder, because HIPPY is known in that sphere. So that is one thing, that is one stakeholder which will make it much easier to convince to provide funding. The other stakeholders are the parents. Recruiting parents at the beginning of the program year will be easier because they know what HIPPY is. They heard about it already, and they might even want their children to join without needing to be convinced or persuaded, or they might even come to the agency or to the program and ask for enrollment for their child. I think the third stakeholder that this will affect is the team of HIPPY. So we've noticed a lot of turnover over the years with home visitors and even with coordinators, and maybe if we have at a conference not 350 guests, but 1,000 coordinators and home visitors, and we become this very big program with a lot of people and a lot of presence, then it will actually attract more team members to join. And for the team members who are thinking of leaving, they would have they would decide at the end to stay. This could also affect obviously the payment of the team members, because the funding will be easier to get. So we're talking here about a situation, about a circle situation in which every time we elevate the awareness of the program, it will contribute to the actual stakeholders within a certain site, even if it doesn't necessarily come from that site, but nationwide, it becomes very, very meaningful for all of the sites that we are operating.
And we've kind of seen that where a new program comes into a region, and then the existing program learns about other funding sources and other partnerships that can be tapped into. It's kind of the concept that the water raises all the boats, and the
Absolutely.
water is that knowledge and outreach and marketing and information. So yeah, I could see that. Well, you mentioned ecosystem, which is, a term that we don't use often enough, but things are constantly changing in that ecosystem. That the landscape of what is education, community development, or home visiting within that is an evolving ecosystem. And how do we stay adaptable and innovative, but at the same time stick to our roots of ensuring model fidelity? But how does HIPPY stay flexible and innovative in this changing ecosystem?
So I think that as you defined it, there are two sides to innovation, right? There's one side of staying up to date and making sure that the services that we provide and the offer of the curriculum is up to date and is really what the families need and can use. And then there is another side of innovation, which is taking what we're doing today and trying to improve it, staying obviously in the same sphere of early childhood education, but taking it maybe to the next level. And I think the best way to explain that would be with an example. So with a raise of hand or with a comment in the chat, who has ever bought a product of a company named Kodak? Everyone bought sometimes in their lives a product of Kodak. Yeah.
Yep, I'm seeing lots of
Okay.
yeses.
Great. How many of you purchased a product of or engaged with Kodak in the last 5 years? Last 2 years? No one, right? Okay. What is the reason for that? It was a
Does it-
huge company. It is a huge. I mean, it's the company with the most patents, I think, in the history of tech. It has so much. It did so much innovation. Why don't we? What happened to Kodak?
I think it's because I use another product called Apple.
You use another product called Apple,
Um,
and before that, before the iPhone came out or before the smartphone came out, what did we use?
we use cameras, disposable cameras, regular cameras. So we always
Re-
had to go with Kodak to get the film. I mean, you could go with anybody, but Kodak was the better choice when you were
Right,
when I was taking pictures. That's what I
right,
remember. Kodak was where you went.
and there was the time that we all had digital cameras, right? These were the cameras with the screen, and it also didn't need film. Do you remember that?
Right.
And that killed Kodak. That killed Kodak because no one was buying film. You know who invented the digital camera?
Please say Kodak. I don't know.
Kodak. Kodak invented the digital camera. But they were so afraid from their own invention and from their own development, because they said, no, this is going to kill us. So they tried to hide it. They tried to shelve it. They tried to do anything in their power that this will never come out to the market. Obviously, it did come out to the market, not by them, but with their competitors, and no one bought Kodak anymore. And this is for me the essence of innovation, right? You have to innovate in order to stay relevant. You have to move forward, and it's sometimes frightening to move forward because it's very comfortable to stay in the familiar area and in the and in the area of uh, uh, comfort, in the comfort zone. It's very nice to stay there, but if you stay there for too long and you don't innovate, you might get hurt, right? So for us at HIPPY, when we look at the innovation, so we first of all we did HIPPY 3.0, which isn't that innovative, but it's a different way to practice HIPPY, right? It's on the phone or computer or tablet, and it gives more possibilities for the parent. So you don't only have to buy film now; you can also use a different device in order to do HIPPY. That is one. The second is that we are trying to open up HIPPY for new for new segments. So we're doing now a project on autism, trying to make the HIPPY curriculum accessible for children on the spectrum and their families, and giving them the opportunity to experience the power of HIPPY. That is the second. The third is trying to provide with very quality material for childcare centers in the form of HIPPY. So trying to adapt the curriculum of HIPPY and making it accessible to FFNs for them to use it, and reaching more children and actually providing them with better level of education than what they have today. All of these things are designed in order to provide a different, better experience while maintaining the core values of HIPPY, of the program, and making sure that the results of HIPPY in all criteria, right, in school readiness, in reading, in parent engagement, don't get hurt. That is on the innovative side. On the updating side, we are constantly working on our curriculum. We are constantly trying to get more and more support to our sites. You know, Carla is the best example. It's a huge progress that we made. That up until I think 3 or 4 years ago, the indie sites did not really, the independent sites did not really have one go-to person that they could reach out for support or for resources. And today we have that. So that is updating and keeping it going for HIPPY. And those two fields, I would say, are for us covering today the changes in the landscape of education, and we are open for more. So if anyone has ideas or places that you think that HIPPY should go to, we'd love to hear those.
Well, so those are some of the great things that are happening. What do you see in terms of like challenges that we need to overcome in order to grow HIPPY? And do you have any effective strategies that you could share with us about those challenges?
So I think that the biggest challenge today is the lack of knowledge about HIPPY, right? So there's a huge gap between the people inside the program, all of us that understand the power of the program and the fact that the program works, and the outside of the program world, which are not always aware that there is such a powerful tool that could be engaging with families, and that they could profit from it and benefit from it. And making sure that as many people as possible are aware, or as many decision makers as possible are aware of that, That is basically our goal in order to grow HIPPY. And this is done by many of the things that we mentioned before. But for example, a study on the ROI of HIPPY on the long run, that's a great tool. But then you ask yourself, okay, so is really a funder going to take the study and read 20 or 25 pages of this study? The answer is most probably not. So what can we do in order to make it accessible for that funder to be able to get the knowledge that they need in order to affect his decision in a more, I would say, communicative or simple way? And these are things that we are doing on a daily basis, and making our information more accessible for everyone, and trying to get it out there, and trying to bring it to the right people.
And of course, that study that you're talking about, that's the one that was done in Colorado.
In Colorado, right?
Yeah, and I know I've shared it on an indie update before, but just in case folks are interested and excited about it, it's very recent, like in the last year. So it's very well worth it for all of us to read it and to pick whatever things you think would resonate most in your communities. So thank you for reminding us of that. And Terry, earlier when she showed on the slide where we keep our information on HIPPY research, if you haven't checked out that area, it's been updated, so it would be good for you to check it out. So once a community expresses interest, because all of us who have been involved in HIPPY, whether it's just a cold call that we get, or based on a presentation that we make, or a parent calling from a nearby community, we do have people approach us and say, oh, well, how do I get this in my neighborhood, in my school, in my community? Once that interest is expressed, what would you say are like the next steps, and who does what?
So the next step would be to contact HIPPY US, and write a short email. If it's you introducing an organization, or if it's the organization itself writing to HIPPY US and expressing interest, and we'll take it from there. So we are currently building up a process which will make it very easy for organizations to actually communicate with someone from the HIPPY world, or it's either currently someone within the HIPPY world, or used to be a part of the HIPPY world up until recently, and get all the information from them either by emails or by Zoom or telephone calls, and they can also tell firsthand on the benefits, and also on the difficulties and challenges, because not every organization, it doesn't fit every organization, right? It doesn't fit every community, and it doesn't and it might not serve an organization the way that they thought it will. So we are trying to make it as transparent as possible, and providing all the information that is needed for an organization or a school district to get to make I would say an educated decision on it. And whatever they need, we have that one contact person that would provide that to them, and accompany them through the decision-making process of if HIPPY is the right thing for them or not. And we learned from the field, by the way, that this is something that is needed, because getting a lot of research, as I said, getting 3 or 4 research, 3 or 4 studies of 20 plus pages each, that's the right recipe to overwhelm someone, and not to support them with the right decision.
Right. So we're actually putting in resources into building on those natural relationships and outreach that happens at the community level. And I think that's a very new thing for us. as a national organization and something that I hope everybody walks away. I just want to reiterate it because it's really important that if somebody approaches you and says, well, how do I get HIPPY in my community? And you can hand that relationship off to us, then we will follow up with them and give them more information. And, you know, whether it's a presentation or a Zoom or you know, there's just a lot of different things that could happen. So I think that's really, really cool that we are being mobilized as ambassadors for expanding HIPPY in our areas. So I don't really have any more questions, but I wanted to open it up for everyone else. And Benny, if you have any other closing comments you want to make. I do, since we are recording this and are going to put it on the website, I just wanted to add one thing about the outreach, because we may have folks from the different states. You know, we're all the indie sites here today, and that's the purpose of today's meeting. But if somebody from Alabama is interested in HIPPY, then that Alabama program would first contact their state office. And the same is true in Texas and Colorado, Florida, and Arkansas. Did I cover everyone? I hope so. But yes, for the sites. What's that? Texas.
No, I'm
Did
saying,
I not say Texas?
you said, I think you mentioned Texas.
Okay, I hope so, because Ariana would kill me if I didn't. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add? And then folks can put questions into the chat or also just take yourself off mute. But yeah, Benny.
No, so I just wanted to emphasize on the fact that if there are any suggestions or any comments, or if you see a lack of resources that you would need, then please contact us. We're here to support you at the end of the day and make sure that you have everything you need for this and for everything else. That would be obviously through Carla, but our work is to make sure that everyone has the ability to support the families in the best way possible. And we would love to support more families. And we have the infrastructure for that. We have the infrastructure, we have the ability, and we have a great program. And it would be a shame if it doesn't reach more children that could benefit from.
So you guys, do you have questions or comments for Benny? We are going to move into like some small group discussions, but what time is it right now in Israel, Benny?
It's 10 to 10.
It's 10 to 10, so we won't blame Benny if he moves on and wraps up his day. So if you have questions or comments, please say so now. And then thank you, Benny. You can look at the rest of it on the recording.
Okay.
But yeah, opening it up. Lydia says thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Just take yourself off mute and ask away.
I believe there was a raised hand earlier, maybe Sarah.
Sarah, do you want to ask a question?
It's not a question, it's when Benny was talking about the innovation. When they create the HIPPY 3.0, that is an innovation for the families that we are serving. So it's another way that they can do the program, even with the package. And just that I think that this is the future of HIPPY, that maybe in the future, or I don't know how many years more, that we will not see anymore the papers, that complete package, but it's like innovation that Benny mentioned. That it's just a comment.
Yeah, and Sarah, I have to just say, if anybody is interested in moving to 3.0 with all or some of your families, of course, Benny will do a demo and a walkthrough. But Fairfax, Virginia, where Sarah's from, they're probably our largest 3.0 user among the
Yeah.
indie sites.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
she's a great resource, Sara, and we would love to connect you with folks who are interested in shifting over to 3.0. So thank you for making that comment.
Thank you. Sure.
Anyone else before Benny goes night night? Oh, thank you so much.
This isn't a question, but I think it's appropriate to share. Just, you know, my site here in New Jersey just became fully funded through a state grant. And just, I want to share just, you know, we were receiving a small bit of MCFE funding, very small, you know, and we teamed up with the state and all the other home visiting programs that were receiving the MCFE funding in much larger grants. And we just acted like we were aligned with them, you know, and we just implemented the program just as all the other home visiting programs in the state, no matter if we were receiving this tiny $40,000 grant as compared to the sites that were receiving millions of dollars through MCFE. And it was through that just constant perseverance and just, you know, we believed in the program and we always showed up. You know, we were able to secure a grant that was not MCV, but since our MCV home visiting specialists saw the work that we were doing, we were able to secure a grant in another stream of funding. So just, you know, to keep on going, no matter how small or how big your grant is, you know, when you believe in the program, and I think that all of us do very strongly, it will happen.
Yes, and
And that
such a great success story. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry, Benny, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's a great example of looking at what others are doing and trying to you know to I wouldn't say do the same, but as you said, go into the flow of things and grow together with them, and taking a positive example from what the others are doing, and this is also what's guiding us. I mean, there's no reason for other home visiting models to be with many more children and families, and HIPPY won't. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and there's really no magic wand. We are the magic wand. It
Exactly.
is in us and building relationships and sticking with it and reaching out and, you know, identifying an opportunity and moving towards it. So, and that's kind of what Terry is going to guide us through in the small groups. So we have one more slide for you, kind of connecting some of those dots, and hopefully you have gathered some ideas even up until now on how to grow HIPPY in your community, in your area. And these are the dots we need to connect. So your first step is to assess what are the opportunities for growth in your area. They may be opportunities that you don't fit in quite yet, but like Rochelle's example, you move forward and then the opportunity works itself out. And in her case, I'm going to take a guess, it took years, not days. So some of the questions you can ask yourself is, are there any needs that my program is currently unable to meet that another organization is focused on? So a concrete example of that is, I remember in Dallas, once we started a program with a housing development that was for parents or people impacted by AIDS, and that included parents. And so in just reaching out and recruiting those families, the program realized, well, it would be really great if we got a home visitor who just served this cluster of families, because they're all in the same area, but also they have some very specific needs for support that is a little bit different than the rest of the community. And so Adriana was able to partner with a local funding agency that provided money to have one home visitor, and, you know, it expanded her program by that many families. So that's what I mean when I say, you know, what are the needs out there? Is it a population group? Is it a little cluster of families that's geographically more isolated and a little further out, or maybe even outside of the area that your agency typically serves or is allowed to serve if you're a school district? But there's groups of people who are just outside of that who are knocking on your door and saying, we want to participate. So knowing kind of what the landscape is helps you identify what support you should reach out to. And that's another dot, who are the leaders and stakeholders in those communities, and who funds services to those communities that could fund an expansion, or who's just interested in expanding. Maybe it's the local church in that faraway neighborhood that is kind of the anchor to that community. How can you partner together with them to get more funding for that community? So that could include parents, it could include schools and school leadership and churches, foundations. And if it doesn't include all of them, that's where recruiting comes in, and we are good recruiters. That's how we get our parents and our home visitors, but we also need to recruit funding partners, local leaders, as well as the families themselves. And having that waiting list or an interest list, because it's not really a waiting list if you can't ever serve them, but having that interest list that you can say, hey, I have 17 families here that would be in the program right now if we could serve them, but they're just outside of our geographic area, or we don't have a home visitor that speaks that language, or whatever the situation is. Having that interest list is a great tool in your expansion efforts. So I highly recommend that you keep that in a systematic way. So that's a little bit of connecting the dots. And now Terry is going to lead us through some action planning where you can actually start taking some of these ideas and putting them together and sharing with each other. So take it away, Terry. And I'll drop the link.
And so Carla has put the link into chat for an action plan. Go ahead, and when you click on it, it should download right to your computer. Oh, I think actually, Carla, to me, let me repost that.
Oops, sorry. I'll do it again. I'll get it.
Okay.
Okay, there it is.
So if you could take a moment and download this action plan, this will be for you to keep. Oh, and as we move into breakout rooms, we're going to spend, initially we had planned to spend 30 minutes in breakout rooms, but we're actually going to spend 15 minutes in breakout rooms today in groups of 2 or 3. Here. And as you work together, I'm sorry, and look over the document, just first describe your community, identify potential partners, and then address challenges for growing HIPPY in your community. And it could be things you're already facing now. You might already be well aware, but sometimes it's just great to have these in writing and let you add on and consider more later. Sorry, 1 second. So this will serve as a handy resource for you moving forward, and we would also like to collect them afterwards if you have a chance to complete them. And we'll give you a link to upload those too as well once we return to the larger group. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them into chat, and I'm gonna go ahead and open the breakup rooms in just a moment, or breakout rooms.
You can always message us if you have questions too, and we can come into the chat rooms, like breakout rooms.
I'm gonna have that stuck in my head now.
You said it, so I had to say it too.
Oh goodness. Okay.
You want us just to kind of work on them like individually as it relates to our sites, or talk them through?
And then work on it individually, but then talk to each other about maybe you might have some similarities or differences.
Yeah, so you're not going to have time to do the whole thing, even if we had given you the full 25 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it was, but just kind of use that to guide your conversation together and get ideas from each other about you know, what your communities look like, potential partners and stakeholders, etc. That's why we want you to have them and take them so that you can use them later too.
All right, so you should see an option to participate in a breakout room right now if you haven't already. And Carla, I think I accidentally added your second device to a breakout room.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just not join. It worked out good. It's even pairs, so.
Yes, it did. Oh, let me stop recording or pause the recording.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Otherwise, I'll forget. Am I still sharing my screen, Carla?
No,
Okay. How about now? Oh, how about now?
I still don't see it.
Okay. Let me go back. Welcome back, everyone. Somewhere along the way, I stopped sharing my screen, so bear with me just one moment.
Seems like we're always ripping you guys out of good conversations, and we apologize for that. But hopefully, with the resource that you have, you can continue to work on that. We are gonna give you access to a Google Drive folder. We're gonna ask you to upload it there. But if this is something you're kind of like in a groove about and you want to add to it, you know, once you share it, we'll be able to see any new work that you put into it. So we encourage you to take it and run with it, you know, start talking to folks, start gathering more information if this is something that could work out for you.
So did anyone have any key takeaways they want to share? We just have a few minutes. But if anybody had something they really wanted to share with us or with the group, we'd love to hear.
To hear it.
Either in chat or take yourself off mute.
I'm trying not to be so noisy as I eat my nuts for lunch at 2:30.
Okay, well, either way, we look forward to hopefully seeing some of your plans and being able to share the information we gather with other sites as well. De-identified, of course. We've provided some resources for you, and Carla is going to drop a link to those in the chat. And you can also share in chat what you've learned from each other. Hopefully that activity gave you some ideas that you haven't tried before. But just to quickly summarize the resources that we're providing today, the startup guide, which you heard Carla talk about earlier with Benny, that is still something you should use even after you've been a long established site. Of course, we are here for you. We're a resource for you. The HIPPY Library and this network that we meet, I think every other month, Carla, we have our Indie Connect, but we also have a Facebook page. And I encourage all of you to utilize that Facebook page for the indie sites.
And the library, Terry, the logon is destination with a capital D.
That's right.
Okay, just a reminder. I know it's set automatically on mine, but if you haven't gotten in there yet, you need to know the logon.
And now I'm going to pass it to Carla for our call to action.
So Terry, before I talk about that, the link that I just put in, we want them to upload the documents into that link. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody should click on that link, you know, before you leave, and definitely upload the document that you were working on into the link. Sorry, into that folder. And if you're having trouble with that, you can also instead email it to either Terry or I.
Absolutely.
Lisa makes a general comment. We found that we have a hard time role playing with English speaking families and easier with Hispanic families. And that is a whole topic right there, Lisa. So I would encourage you to make an appointment. We can talk about it one-on-one. But if anybody, why don't you put your email address in the chat, Lisa? And if anybody has kind of faced that and gotten through that and gotten some strategies, it would be awesome for you to, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that need. It would be awesome for you to share some ideas with Lisa kind of offline. I'm not trying to put you off because I would love to talk to you about it. I do have some ideas, so make an appointment and we can have a chat one-on-one. But I think the folks who are in the room have a lot that that you could share. So Rochelle and Lisa, so maybe we'll have a call together, or maybe that could be an excellent topic for a webinar for next year. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Terry mentioned these resources, so I am now copying and pasting that into the chat. Whoops, to everyone. So I'm gonna just type resources since you can't tell.
Today.
What's that?
Oh, I said we have a lot of links for you today.
I know. So I labeled it this time because I know it's kind of confusing because you can't tell what it is, but those are some great resources for you. And I mentioned also some videos that HIPPY International is working on for us. And I know at least 2 of them, if not 3 of them, are going to have subtitles in Spanish, because I looked at some of the subtitles to see the translation, and they're really nice. A lot of, I think all of it, no, Rochelle's program in New Jersey, I know some things happened there and in Washington, D.C., and then some interviews that were done at the national conference. So I think it's a great resource for all of us to share with our existing network, but also possibly with new growth opportunities.
And
So
once those are ready for official release, we'll certainly forward those on to you all.
yes, we will be sharing them widely. I'm sure I'll put it in a Indie Connect. I said that and now I can't get out. Indie update, but also it'll be in the website, et cetera, et cetera. So we do have a call to action with a nice quote. And this quote is, or adage, I guess, has really been attributed to a lot of different people. Because when I read it, because Terry put this quote on here, and I was like, I feel like I've seen that, but slightly different wording. So I looked it up, and I think Gandhi said something similar, and Cicero said something similar. But it's basically the idea that, we plant seeds and we may not be around to see those seeds come to fruition or those trees grow into shade. But those things that we do are having a long impact. So the quote here is from Dennis Waitley: "A man has made at least a start on discovering the meaning of life when he plants shade trees under which he knows he will never sit." So just like Avima planted this shade tree that we call HIPPY, we're still planting shade trees for more people. So our call to action today is to urge each of you to join us in planting the seed of lasting impact that we find through growing our HIPPY program. And as Benny said, growing HIPPY, expanding it to more families, not only benefits individual children and families, but it brings greater success to all of our programs. And together, we're here to sow those seeds of positive change and cultivate a legacy that transcends even our own impact in our own lifetime. So please join us in making that tree grow. And on our last slide, we want to thank you for participating today. And Terry, I can put the link in. We want you to give us your honest feedback, as we always do. And Terry has a few closing words for us.
Once you complete the evaluation, you'll be able to download your certificate for this attending this webinar today. And just remember that you won't be able to edit that certificate online. You will need to download it in order to add your name. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, guys. And we'll stay until, in case anybody has any other questions. I was telling Terry, which we can stop the recording, Terry.
There we go.
Yeah, oh, there we go.